So to start off, the question is a pretty simple, like, what is your walking practice?
Mm,
Just how often do you do it, basically, for how long?
right. Yeah. So I have always been a walker, like throughout my life. I think before I ever even thought of it as a routine or before I ever did any kind of routine, walking has always been my first go-to um, habits for like when I was going through like stress or something. It was like one of my key coping strategies. It's like when I was upset or going through a lot, I always knew that walks were kind of a way that I could process through it, and I would feel better if I went out walking.
Hmm.
Kind of similar to like when people like shower in the same way. Like people really like showers because it's like it's calming.
Yes.
Walks for that for me. Um, I've been just I just for as long as I can remember, I've been someone who walked a lot. Even when I was in college at Clark, right after the art school, I didn't have a car for a long time because I didn't want to pay for the driver's ed stuff. So I uh, I walked. I took the bus and I walked a lot, and I just I loved that. I loved it. I did. It took a lot of extra time to get places, but it gave me an appreciation for, the landscapes around everywhere. And like, it gave me an insight that I don't think I would have had if I had started driving earlier. So,
Right. You said that you choose to walk because it like helps you think, right? Something
yeah.
like, and so would there be anything else that you would like to add to that? Why you choose to walk? What does it give to you
Mm.
other than just like this is exercise?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's that component where it's healthy, so I know that it's good for my body, but
Right.
I think more so than that, walking really provides an outlet of sort of presence of mind that it's hard to get in other mediums.
Hmm.
So it's like, when you're out there, you're kind of you're with your breathing, you get to see this, you get to observe the world, and you're kind of, you're just kind of passing through. And I don't know what it is, just something about that experience, like just walking in general, it just calms me down. Like it just makes me feel like a lot more connected to everything. And I find that it's weird when I walk with other people. It's sort of, I feel like we can talk better and deeper when we're walking versus like when we're just like in a house somewhere. Like it's weird. Like if any kind of tough, harder like emotional conversation I've ever had to have, has always been better when I've been walking with the person versus like been in a house, which is really strange. But I have also noticed the phenomenon, even when I was looking for work last year, because I had one of my interviews, this dude conducted it like on a walk with me, and it was amazing how much less stressed I was just because I was walking
Yeah. Any
during the
theories
interview.
about that? Because that's one of my questions is what's the difference between walking alone and walking with people? So do you have any theories about why that might
Why that might
be?
be? Yeah, like I mean, I think that the whether you're walking alone or you're walking with someone else, I think the same mechanisms are at play, but I do think it's that added social experience of talking with people. So when you're walking, um, it's you're engaging not just your senses, being out walking and stuff in the presence part, but you're also engaging like your ears in a different way, and you're tuning into what the other person has to say. And there's just less distractions when you're walking, so it might deepen your conversations with them more. So I do think from the kind of the cognitive piece of just like we have all these, we're sensitive to all our inputs around the world.
Hmm.
And especially when we're inside, we have televisions and radios and Alexas and all those things that distract us. But like when we're walking, it's like it's a lot of people like to go hiking, with their families or with their girlfriend or whatever. One of the reasons why we like to do that is not just to be out in nature, but it's again that physical, like you can really talk. There's nothing a lot to do, like uh just, because you're walking, all going to the same place. So it's like it's just you taking that moment to be with that person, and it is distinctly different being with someone else versus doing those things by yourself. I have lots of walking experiences just on my own, and I really enjoy those times, but they are distinctly different from when I actually have someone with me. So it does change it, and it's hard for me to say exactly, like, you know, that you can't even say you would like one over the other because they're
Yeah.
completely distinctly
Mm-mm.
different experiences,
More different
like,
than apples and oranges, right?
yeah, right, yeah, and
Totally different mindsets.
yeah, and you need both. I do think, this for the social aspect. I think walking is terrific, and like I've even walked with my mom, like during this quarantine thing. Like we've actually had time to walk together, and that's not something we usually get to do. So that was kind of a neat experience, walking with her.
What was
Uh,
that like?
it was It was I don't know, it's different. Like it's a lot of things you don't really like, I've known my mom's my mom. I've known her my whole life, right? Like I know who she is, right? But like walking with someone else, you make observations that you wouldn't make those observations any other time other than when you're walking. Like the pace of how someone walks, how much they talk and walk at the same time, like the percentage of that. What is the things that my mom noticed? We were walking on in our neighborhood, and it's always curious what she notices versus what I noticed. We were walking the same spot that I go walking by there, jogging by there like every day, and I was curious like what she thought of things. And so it was interesting to kind of pick her brain, especially because she grew up in this neighborhood too. So like that was another aspect of the walk, was kind of her talking about like a lot of the things, how things have changed. And just what we just got, it was interesting. We just got to kind of slow down and talk about life, and there's no objective to it. I just didn't have sometimes when because I live with my mom, mom lives upstairs, I rent from her, and sometimes it's like, you know, I feel like when we talk, there's always like some side project or something she wants my help with or something like that, and it can get distracting. But like it's different when we're just walking, because it's like you can't, like, there's nothing for me to do in front of her that I need to do. It's kind of just like we're both just there walking, and it was just a nice shared experience. Yeah,
Mom's expecting things.
yeah. You wouldn't know anything about that. Yeah.
Read my latest WordPress blog. Oh my God. Incredible. Um, you talked a bit about how you exercise in different ways, like walking versus jogging, and I also know you go to the gym, or you used
Mhm.
to when it was
Yeah,
available.
yeah.
What are the different things that you gain from each of those things?
From walking, we're walking versus jogging, or
Yeah. Yeah, not as a like against it, but like what are the things that you get from both?
both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, walking is more of a meditative, slower practice. Obviously, I think you can notice more when you're walking, and I think, yeah, it's really a deeper, like, you're kind of just connecting with things. It's not it is exercise, but it's not really, you're not there's not a sense that you're pushing yourself a lot. I mean,
Mhm.
if you walk like a long ways, or you're hiking or something, that is, that is hard, and it's there's definitely elements of where you heavy breathing and all that. But like when I jog or I run, I have to say running now, because my girlfriend, she ran cross country, and she was like, I told her I went jogging, and she's like, what, like, you went running? And I was like, yeah, I went jogging. Like, I guess there's a thing, like runners like consider like running, you're not like jogging is like the more casual thing, like you're not really a runner if you just say you're jogging. So anyways, I've been thinking about
Oh my
that
God.
lately. It's apparently there's distinction. I didn't know this, but yeah, like
How
running and
important is that label to you?
right, right. So it's an interesting conversation we had. But I think for me, the running aspect, I enjoy that as well. On top of walking, because running is, it gets your heart rate up, and it gets it that to me is also a form of uh, kind of bringing your awareness back to the present, because
Right.
you really are like you have less oxygen when you're running, and you are pushing yourself, and so you're like in your body, like you're fully in your body, and it's harder to think about other things because you still are thinking about other things, and you you have the same kind of struggles you would with walking, but it's like just that much more so when you're running, because it is this you're pushing yourself, especially for me, the way I run, like I really am trying to to keep it up, to kind of beat my personal best,
Right.
it's even if I'm not like really keeping score or anything, it's just, to me, it's like it is very much this disciplined practice, whereas walking to me is a lot more natural, like it's a lot more like I don't have to force it, I just do it, pretty
Yeah.
innately. I like both. I really do like putting in time to go jogging, and I try and do it. And oftentimes I'm one of those people, I chronically like listen to like motivational speeches and stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so like sometimes I'll get like excited by it, and like I was like, oh, I gotta run, and that's kind of often why I like switch between jogging and walking, because it's like, to me it's this sort of natural like progression of, okay, I'm already out here, so I might as well push myself a little bit.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
um, okay, so here's a little bit of a connections question.
hmm
Um, is there anything that you think that you get from walking that people might not expect?
Mm. Walking that people might not expect.
Yeah, like benefits. For example, like we've already talked about, sort of mental um, things that happen. It's not just physical things, right?
hmm
So, and maybe we already talked about like what your answer would have been, but it's kind of an exercise in the FQs, I guess, is like,
Sure.
and
Love
this
those.
might just be a brainstorming session about what
Yeah.
people could get from it that people might not know already.
And do you mean walking by yourself or walking with others?
Oh my goodness, Nate. Um, we're gonna go with by yourself.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just needed to clarify. Uh,
Yeah, it's definitely a thinker.
yeah, it is. I think one of the side benefits of walking that I've always inherently had is the sort of the sense of discovery.
Right.
Like, so it's like you walk places. I'll intentionally try and walk places that I walk a lot, and then try and walk it like at like a different angle or a different direction or something, and have
Mhm.
a different perspective. Or I'll try and like I'll just in my neighborhood, like I'm not done exploring. There's parts of it that I haven't walked yet and seen, and like even if I have seen it, like it changes from day to day. So I think there's something about the novelty, like why do we walk? It's because we like to walk, but then it's also like when we walk, it's like we don't know what's out there, so it's like it's women's pursuit of more, and kind of a higher level kind of way, in the most highest level. I think that's what walking is. It's this sense of the you traversing to the unknown, and I think that you get that discovery more than you realize, like you're kind of yearning for it more than you realize. So yeah.
That's so beautiful. Oh my God. Incredible. See, I'm doing this project of interviews. It's funny that you're my first interviewee though, because the idea is to show that anybody can be like a poet, or they can say something wise, and it's like, I mean,
Yeah.
clearly you're a writer, we know it, right?
Yeah.
So I guess you're a really good place to start, because if I create something with you, write an article or something, and I'm like, And then other people will be like, oh yes, that person spoke so well, and it was just a normal conversation.
Yeah.
Not knowing you're a writer, they'll be
All
like,
right.
I feel so good about this.
Yeah,
So
definitely,
that's cool.
definitely writer. Yeah.
Here I'm going down my question list. Where is your favorite place to return to walk? This could be an actual location you keep going back to, or like
Mhm.
a type of ecosystem like a beach or a rainforest if you don't often go to the same place.
Oh
And you
man.
said your neighborhood. So that's an acceptable answer. And if you have anything else, that's also welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my neighborhood obviously out of convenience, mostly, and I have a nice neighborhood, so that's good. But I'd say actually, one of my favorite places to walk, like period, in the city especially, is down at Officers Row area, down through the fort and all around there.
Love it.
It's one of my favorite spots. When I was funny, one of my strongest memories recently, in at least recent years anyways, was when I was unemployed last year, and I was kind of doing a lot of, like I am now, kind of doing a lot of soul seeking, just sort of trying to figure myself out, and I needed to take a break from just like everything. I wanted to write. I wanted to take a breath from all my job applications. I was stressed, so I went down and first I took like a good solid hour and I wrote down at the officers row and just like sat at a park bench. And then I was like, you know what, like after I was done writing, I was like, I just want to walk. So I walked from like officers row all the way down through the fort, over the land bridge, and then back around past the library, and then back to where my car was in officers row. And I made that whole loop, and I had like,
That's so good.
and I got lunch on the way, like at Mighty Bowl, and like it was just like this. I mean, I took pictures and I put it on my Instagram. Like it's on there. You can find the picture from that day because it's like I don't have a lot of pictures on my Instagram, but
Yeah.
it's like that day was very memorable to me, and it was that walk really meant a lot. It was very representational for that time of my life. I had a good book that I had just started reading, and so I was like really I was really entranced in it. And so like I don't know, that walk it's still one of my favorite walks. It's Allie, my girlfriend's potentially coming to visit me next, or potentially she is coming to visit me next month. She booked a ticket, and that's like, if the weather's nice, that's where I want to take her, because it's like one of my favorite spots and probably the whole city.
How
So
was the walk representational?
uh like I think it's for me, it's a spot that is greatly important. Both just, I have a lot of memories there. It's also was a spot I literally, I'm not even kidding you, and I think it was like the HISP, the high school proficiency exam or whatever, the stupid test we had to take. I
Yeah.
lit I think the prompt that we had to do is like, what is your favorite place? And so I literally, I'm not even kidding you, wrote down like Fort Vancouver area was like my favorite place, and so I have a special connection to that spot. And so for me, walking that day was very rejuvenated me a lot, and gave me hope, that I could get through the time that I was in. And like that walk in particular, just I saw it was a really nice day. I saw people like living, being themselves. Like there's someone playing like music, like guitar, kind of near by the fort, like in this kind of shaded spot, and it was just by himself. And I listened to that for a little bit on my walk, and it was just
Mm.
like, it just was like nice, like picturesque, I guess, and it kind of, yeah, it represented kind of a time in my life, to me anyways, that where I was, it was hard times for me, but I just continued to walk, and I continued to keep going and find new hope within, both through myself, but then also through others. So yeah.
That's so good. It sounds like it was summer.
It was, yeah, yeah, it
Ah,
was.
so good. Um, do you have a dream of walking somewhere you haven't been?
Oh man, of course. Thinking place I kind of think about sometimes is like I've always been interested in visiting France and like specifically like the French countryside. I'd love to like walk through there. I think I've heard stories of how beautiful it is, and that's a spot that I think about walking. I mean, there's endless places to walk. One place that I have in my mind that I eventually we're gonna walk slash hike is there's an area called the Enchantments in Washington near Leavenworth, and my dad hiked it growing up. Like he hiked it like every year with his friends, and it's one that I've since I was a little kid I've always wanted to walk, and it's like 40 miles. It's long, and you have to prepare for it. But that's something I want to do still because it's one of the few places on planet Earth that like man has not touched a lot because you have to have a lottery system to actually even go up there. So like yeah, so
Oof.
I still want to do it.
Why do you want to do it? Just because your dad did it, or did you hear something else about it?
uh, Mostly, I mean, the impression like the why I know about it is because my dad did it,
Mhm.
and so I think there is that familial aspect where I kind of want to be where he's been, but
Mm,
also I've seen pictures and it just looks amazing. Yeah,
yeah,
and but it is kind of that though. I mean, my dad did it, and and he's told me about it, and so holds a special like place in my heart, I guess, just because it's special to him, so it's kind of special to me. I don't know. I just wanted to see it, you know. And
that's great.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so my last question is, how would you encourage somebody to integrate walking into their lives? Like, what would you say
hmm Yeah.
if
My
they were like willing to listen,
willing to listen. Yeah, of
not to
course.
like force them, but like,
Sure. Yeah.
what would you talk about?
Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely. I have a. My advice for walking is very similar as for my advice for starting anything. It's really just starting significantly. Uh, let me back up. So like to start something, uh, is a lot. To start a new thing is a lot. So I think for anybody that maybe doesn't walk very often, I think the best thing that they could possibly do is to like lower the bar of expectation so very low that they just like that they can do it. Like, can you walk to like the end of your street and back? Like,
Absolutely.
maybe start that stupidly small. Like, it's you want to make it so that you have a foundation of this behavior that you can work off of. And if you don't walk a lot, maybe like for me, I can't tell you how many times a day I just walk around my block.
Right,
Like that's simple. Like it's simple. It's not very long. I could commit to that. The main thing is when people like, if they're not used to walking, it's that sort of the time element. They just think they don't have enough time, and that's simply not true. And oftentimes they don't know how they'll feel after they've walked until they've walked.
right.
Like they don't know how much better they possibly could feel if they made the decision to walk. So I think that if I was giving advice to somebody that wanted to get into walking, it would be simply that it's to start very small and just start to build momentum.
Yeah,
Like and there's a lot of things you can do to like have good shoes and all that, like that, like your equipment matters, but all that stuff is like I go back to my favorite books is the James Clear's Atomic Habits book, and like he talks about being in motion versus action, and like when
what's
we're
that name again?
Atomic Habits. The book is called Atomic Habits, and it's the author is James Clear.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite book, like absolute favorite books that I read this year so far, and yeah, I really like. And so, basically, going back to like the in motion versus action thing, if someone can read about walking and they can read about shoes and they can do all that, they can do all this research, and
Mhm.
that's in motion, whereas like action is like actually planning and doing a walk, like
Yeah.
like going on a walk, doing it, and you need both. I do think you can plan routes, you can do all that, you can do all the prep work, but at the end of the day, it's just if you've never had a habit like to walk before, you have to establish it, like at least in a small way, because you can't build off of anything that's not there. So like yeah.
There it is.
Yeah,
You
so
can't build off of anything that's not there.
yeah.
And actually, an idea kind of came up on my mind as you were answering.
Mhm.
Um, Rather than just like thinking about like the walking, like foot in front of the other, how do
Mhm.
you keep it not boring,
Oh yeah, that's a good
right?
one. That's a good question. Yeah, and I actually go back and forth on this, right? Because uh, like I said, presence of mind is something that I really value and like about walking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if you introduced music and a podcast or something into it, are you really
Mm,
present in the space anymore? And like I go back and like I go back and forth like on it, and like sometimes I'll literally just set my phone down because I need it to charge anyways, and just be like, I'm gonna go walk without my phone, because if I take my phone with me, I will listen to music. That's just what I will do. And like um I listen to like I'll often listen to like an audiobook. Like for instance, that book, the Atomic Habits book, when I was reading it, I actually listened to it on audiobook. So I during lunch breaks and stuff would go walking and just listen to the book, you know. But I'm depriving myself of the sensory sound element of the walk. So like that part is missing. Uh,
right.
which sometimes you want that. It doesn't really
Yeah.
matter.
You don't have to do each one like one only.
Yeah,
Like it depends on the day.
you can do both, and it's the same. I mean, people listen to music when they drive. It's not any different. An element, and I actually think it's really important. I think it's also important though to have people be educated and realize that there is value in walking with no stimulus as well. Like because I think it's pretty easy actually to get somebody to walk if like one of the things that James Clear talks about is habit stacking. So like you pair something you want to do with something you're already doing. So if you're already someone who listens to a lot of podcasts, well, pick a podcast that you can listen to kind of semi infrequently and only listen to it. Only let yourself listen to it if you're going on a walk. Like you
Hmm.
could do it that way, and people are going to be more likely to stick with the walking habit if they know that they're going to get that kind of exterior reward of being able to listen to something that they like. Like something I was trying was like with going to the grocery store. I don't like shopping, but like one of the things I like so my podcast, my brother and me. It's really funny, like podcast between three brothers, and like I found that when I was grocery shopping, if I just had a list and stuff and I was listening to this podcast, like it was a lot more enjoyable for me. So like in a couple times, it's like I've actually used that as a way to coax myself into grocery shopping. So like I'm sure you could make up something similar for someone was trying to get into walking, because that yeah, anything that you can do to kind of just get yourself started, I think is better. You're just not gonna be perfect. Like nobody's gonna like be this perfect Zen person that like walks for the first time and then knows that they don't listen to anything. Like they don't have to listen to anything. Like you gotta like just get yourself out there and walking. It doesn't really matter where or how. Um, yeah, I feel like I had another point on that, but it's yeah, just mostly just walking's different for everybody. Just for me, it's just something that I've learned to really value over the years. Just again, as that de-stressing tool, really more than anything. Yeah.
That's so good. Do you have any final notes or anything else that you want to chat about? Um,
I'm thinking, I mostly just, to really hit on the fact that walking is pretty well researched. Like
yeah.
as you know, I have a psychology background, and
Mhm.
the thing that they they really talked about a lot was just like you get benefits from walking, like, even 20 minutes a day, I think is what they said. Like if you can do 20 minutes a day, like you're on average going to be, that person's going to, like, I can't remember what it is. Like, let's live longer. It's like better for their health, overall. Like, if you can walk 20 minutes a day, like that's all it takes. It
Yeah.
doesn't take a lot. But it really is that, um, it's that momentum. It's like you, oh, that's the other aspect that I really wanted to hit on is, people oftentimes will not exercise, or not walk because they don't consider themselves to be someone who does that. And that's like a huge component of any kind of habit forming, is that, the habits we stick to are actually the ones that we identify with. So
Hmm.
like writing, I am a writer. I consider myself to be a writer. So I am therefore like 50, 60, 100 times more likely to write just because I consider myself to be that thing. Like there is power in the belief of oneself. And so if, I think another aspect that should be considered when someone wants to start walking is that they have to start, every time they walk, they need to be calling themselves someone, a walker, someone who walks, or uh, someone who travels, whatever you want to, however you want to say it. Like if someone runs, they are a runner. Like that is that really, that goes a long way to kind of instilling that, just, like basically all your habits like will stack into that identity eventually. Like once you've done it enough, that's where you form that identity, and that
Hmm.
identity piece is key to sticking with it. So yeah, because I can't tell you how many times I've screwed up my morning routines and stuff like that, but I consider myself to be a morning person, and so I always fight to get that habit back, like even if I mess up. And I wouldn't do that if I didn't have that identity piece. So like,
Right.
yeah. So yeah.
Ooh, identity, juicy.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, that's, I mean, I can't take credit for that because that's definitely, like, again, more stuff that I got from James Clear's book. So it's like it's I mean, but it's very, I don't know, it lines up very well with what I've been kind of working on, and like have thought about things. It's just, it's a new framework for which I can kind of instill my world that I've observed. So yeah.
Well,
But
that's
yeah,
so good.
it's good. It's good. I definitely, yeah, I've actually I've been toying around with the idea of like starting like a podcast or something like related to some of these ideas, just because I think it's just good, like
You would be such a good podcast cast host, and you already know it because you
I do.
won like a national award. Like, why didn't you start like last year? Come
You know.
on, Nate.
Well, you know what they say, the best time to start was yesterday, and second best time is
Exactly.
now. Like yeah.
You'd be so good. And like literally, Nate, I would just listen to you talk about the things that you like you already have so much knowledge and so many resources like in your brain that it's like just talk about things that you like and I'll be like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how I've been thinking about it, because it's like I do have things that I can share, and it's like, and it doesn't matter that there's like 100 other people that are saying the same thing. It's like sometimes just like hearing it a certain way, like it's the way that gets through to people that's important, like
Yes.
in different styles, it all matters,
And
and
you
I
know
don't,
you can get through to people. And you have
yeah,
that like you have such like a presence like speaking and you're a writer. So like if you need to like write some sort of script or whatever to start off, it's like it would be great.
yeah, right, just do it. Yeah, no, I definitely, I appreciate that, because that's something I've been thinking about. So, I mean, we've all had time to think about our passion projects that during this whole thing. So, you
Right.
know,
Well, I'm in your corner.
appreciate that. Appreciate that, Red. Yeah. So,
Well, thank you so
yeah,
much for talking to me. It says that it's recording, so I really hope that it actually is recording and that I can
yeah,
have like that access um,
yeah,
for transcription purposes.
yeah. If you need anything else, just let me know. Like if you need me to write up anything or what have you, I got you. So,
Awesome. This has
yeah,
been great. Thank you
Yeah,
so much, Nate.
absolutely. Let's talk again sometime. Yeah.
Yes. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too. All right. Bye.